Hello, gorgeous Aries, and welcome to June. Can you believe it? Can't forget my signature Aries wink in our discussion, can I? June is a magical month, no matter if you're in the northern or the southern hemisphere. We are shifting, right? You can always feel the symbolism of the shifts that occur. In June, we go from Gemini season, which is so communicative and playful, into Cancer, Moonchild energy, which is very intuitive, very internal, very healing. And we have the solstice action, and that's the theme that's coming up for June, is we are recalibrating. We're finding new balance. And this is for all 12 signs. So one of the things we're going to be focusing on this month as I talk through the astrology is rebalancing, as I talk through your main note, how to balance out your Aries Martian energy with other aspects of yourself. Because even though you're an Aries and you have Aries in your chart somewhere, probably if you're watching this, it doesn't mean that you just have to rely on that one aspect of self, right? Because sometimes I think we feel the pressure to rely on a specific aspect of ourselves that is a strong suit, but then we have these other parts of ourselves that need a little bit of time and space to be expressed, to be played with, to be experienced, right? So let me start shuffling. I'm going to give you your note. I'm going to talk through a few of the astrology things going on this month. So here's your note, Aries. This is going to be a really beautiful time to soften into life and to live the beautiful life. The Fool. Just as I was saying, softening into life. I think the Fool understands that more than any other energy that we have in the tarot, honestly. Yes, there is action, right? The Fool takes action, but the Fool takes action from that place of softness, not out of knowing the goal, not out of knowing the outcome, but out of the openness to possibility, right? So that's what I mean by softness. Rebalancing means letting and leaning into another aspect of yourself, right? And the moon, the intuitive, the feminine, the hidden, the mysterious. I would say for you already, you guys, you're getting two of the most mysterious energies that are not outcome dependent. So, just keep that in mind. These are really positive energies, but if we're going to look at the macro intention of the Fool and the Moon, I would say that there is definitely a sense of mystery, right? Knight of Pentacles, slowing down, savoring, right? There's some gentleness with all of these energies. I know we've talked about this multiple times, you guys, this whole idea of you are inherently Two of Pentacles, decisions, sitting back enough to be able to look around and listen into what you really want to decide on. For you, decisions are not going to be coming through force this month. They're going to be coming through play, through gentleness, through curiosity. We talk about it all the time, that you guys, okay, you know how to get things done, you know how to initiate, you know how to make those phone calls, you know how to show up quickly, let's go. And we always talk about how, it's good to practice other aspects of self. Now, here's the thing, if you're born into the world with a lot of Aries energy, a lot of that first house energy, whatever that is for you, 10 of Wands, you guys get this card a lot, don't you? If you're born with that energy dominant in your chart or significant in your chart, like with your sun or with your rising or with your moon even, one of the things you're going to be learning throughout your lifetime is how to balance that out. That's going to be something Two of Wands. That doorway energy is really strong. You're getting these twos, right? You've gotten two twos this reading so far. Something about a road splitting, something about there being a choice between two ways. A choice between two ways of being in the world. Seven of Swords. We're going to be having to talk about some self-trust here with your energy systems, right? But throughout your life with Aries energy in your chart, you'll have to learn how these other different ways of being. You were given this tool set. You were given certain aspects of self that come out of you very naturally and gently. And then you are tasked with this idea of exploring all the other avenues of self. So Mark Nepo says you have to love what is considered an obstacle until it's no longer an obstacle. I'm Not paraphrasing very well there, but, and I think that's a lot of what this month is about. Stop perceiving obstacles as obstacles and start perceiving them as helpers, as recalibrators. And the Emperor. See, you're not meant to abandon yourself. Actually, another card want to come out. The Lovers. Okay, great. Let's stop there. Okay, so just a few astrology notes before we get talking about these cards. You have a new moon in Gemini on June 3rd. Third house communicative energy, a great time to set some intentions and to listen into that and to soften your analytical mind a little bit. We're going to have a lot of energy in Gemini in June, of course, and Gemini is great energy. However, Gemini can get us way over analytical. So one of the things we're going to be looking out for is how to let the ideas flow through without over analyzing and holding them too tightly, right? And then Mercury moves into Cancer the next day, so the ruling sign of Gemini actually moves into the very intuitive moon. So here's this conversation we're having. The moon is in Gemini, which rules Cancer and is over there, and then the next day the ruling planet of Gemini moves into Cancer, so they're swip swapping, right? There's this whole thing going on with intuition versus intellect, intuition versus words spoken, and finding a balancing point between those two. And of course that Mercury energy is going into your home, into your hidden, into your private, which we already saw a hint of it in your cards here. We also have a full moon in Sagittarius. That will be beautiful for you, right? This is that expansive energy that's happening on the 17th, and that 9th house of vision, the big vision, right? And it illuminates that path. So I think that's why we have these decision-making cards in this reading, because you know, we always have certain times in the year where we have to assess what we want that path to look like and what we want to take with us and what we want to leave behind, what feels true to our soul. And that's really the question here. And what feels a little bit off, what feels a little bit stressful, and maybe you don't even know exactly why it's stressful, but it feels a little off, right? So that moon's going to be really helpful in figuring out what your soul is saying. Neptune is starting the retrograde of the year for Neptune. Neptune retrogrades about half the year every single year, so this is very normal. Integrating our dream worlds. Neptune retrograde is actually very helpful because it takes away some of the fantasy and helps us really see what dreams connect with us. So that's happening actually on the solstice as Cancer season opens. We have that Neptune retrograde. There's kind of some beautiful symbolism, mysticism in this idea that the planet of dreams and fantasy and secrets and the hidden parts of ourselves is going retrograde to help us see more clearly as the sun positions into the second half of the year. So there's something really beautiful about that. And as we hit into the solstice, we're at that tipping point. We're at that rebalancing point. You will be feeling it, especially coming off of that full moon in Sagittarius just a few days before. And finally, Mercury at the end of the month goes into fellow fire sign Leo on the 27th. That will be so fun for firing up that creativity. You know, I see the Emperor and the Lovers at the end of this reading, and I think Mercury in Leo, like energy starting to move into that symbiotic energy for you of Leo, of the heart, of creativity. So I think as the month progresses and once we get into Cancer season, you're actually going to be feeling more and more of your true self coming out. Now let's talk through the cards. Okay, so like I said, this is very mystical energy. The Fool, the challenge with the Fool is great. That's about new beginnings, new opportunities, new horizons opening up, right? It's amazing energy. The key with the Fool, though, is you have to go in again kind of like you're a kid. Before you've been burned by light, before you've been rejected a few times, before you even... because the thing is, when you're kids, you fall down, you fail, you don't win a soccer match, or you get a bad grade. You don't write a whole story about yourself until you reach a certain age. Normally, you won't write a whole story about how that relates to your value. You're kind of in the moment and you let those things pass through you and by you. But as we get older, we start to write a narrative of where we have to hold ourselves back. So the Fool is returning to, in essence, your soul's essence, which is this essence of there is no narrative of you being a failure or you being unlovable or you being incapable that exists. So there's no scale on which to put your different actions. And what would you do if you don't have that scale, if you don't have that ledger book that has the pluses and the minuses for everything you do, right? And so the Fool and the Moon, this is asking you, there's a new road ahead here. And you're going to be feeling it in June. Right away, Aries. You're going to be feeling this is your new path. But are you going to trust it intuitively? Are you going to trust your intuitive voice to give you the answer? And the thing is, the moon can hold you captive, right? We have this new moon in Gemini. It's really powerful. It can hold you captive, though. It can stop you from fully moving forward if you don't listen to your intuition. If you keep it shoved down and you don't let yourself feel through something, you'll wonder why things don't change. And partially it's because there's something you have to address that you aren't listening to inside of that moon energy. Now, the next two cards kind of speak to this because there's something practical going on when you have the Knight of Pentacles and the Two of Pentacles in a conversation, right? This is very grounded energy. This is very practical, slow-moving kind of detail-oriented energy, especially the Knight of Pentacles. Now, you may be dealing with somebody who's a little resistant to changing quickly, who's a little bit slow, who's a little bit cautious, but you might also find that this is how you are moving through the world. You're taking some time to assess what is working for you. Now, it can be kind of hard to get really honest with this. And here's the thing. Don't worry about the narrative. Don't worry about the technical aspects. Pay attention to what feels like it's working and pay attention to what feels like it's not. Pay attention to the times where you feel like you have to shut yourself down or you have to not listen to your own internal voice. Pay attention to the times where it almost feels like you're betraying yourself in order to make a situation work or in order to like keep putting up with a certain scenario. Because the thing is, you're getting called to address it. And that's where this Two of Pentacles comes in, because the Two of Pentacles is often associated with kind of like the juggler, the mask that we wear, how we try and keep equilibrium in the world by either being true to ourselves or not. And sometimes what we do is we're trying to keep that equilibrium in place and we're really not helping anybody, least of all ourselves. So you are being asked to assess here, and you're being asked to assess through your soul's voice. Fantastic month for meditation, fantastic month to check in with what your soul has been telling you. I have a feeling that some of this information is stuff that's been building up since your birthday seasons, since March, April. You may have been feeling that some of these truths needed to come out, or that just shifts. It doesn't have to be catastrophic. This energy isn't catastrophic. It is urging you into a new territory though, right? Because, you know, when I look at the next two, we started with the Fool, you all. So that tells you the tone of June for Aries, which is very much initiating, new beginnings, opening doors. And new beginnings are amazing, right? But that always means that if you're opening a door, you're leaving behind whatever room you were in before. You're leaving behind whatever space you were in before, which is represented here in this Ten of Wands. And the Two of Wands is representing the doorway. Now, there is a dualism here. There is a resistance here, right? There's part of you that wants to hold back. There's part of you that wants to stay with what you've been doing and how you've been doing it. There's a part of you that wants to hold it. And it's always that thing of, you know, once you take the leap, you realize, oh, that wasn't scary. Like, it was very easy to jump over that little brook. But before you take it, it might seem really wide. It might seem like a really far leap, right? And so there's a moment here. There's some kind of shift that happens that seems very scary beforehand and then feels amazing afterward. And actually is what is going to facilitate you moving into what you want to move into, living the life you want to live. It requires this major gear shift between Ten of Wands into Two of Wands. It requires a leap of faith. Like I said, you're starting by looking around you, right? The Knight of Pentacles and the Two of Pentacles. You're looking around you. You're paying attention to how you're feeling. You're paying attention to what's working for you. By the time we hit around the solstice season, there's something going on with you saying, I got to make this leap. I've got to make this change. Pay attention to what makes you feel heavy and burdened and tired, from habits to people to living situations to jobs to routines that you have in your life, and what makes you feel hopeful and open. A lot of times when we feel trapped, we feel depressed, we feel overwhelmed, it's because we feel a sense of being trapped. claustrophobic. There's no space in the process. And when we are listening to our soul, there is a sense of breath, there is a sense of openness, there is a sense that we have enough space to be a full being. And you're being asked to grapple with that dualism and to make the shift, quite honestly. But what that's going to require is self-trust. And when the Seven of Swords pops up, here's the thing. Okay, yes, maybe you don't know what everybody else's intentions are. Maybe you don't know if you need to look over your shoulder or not, or if somebody else doesn't trust you, right? There's a lot of like analytical mind work going on with Seven of Swords. But often I find that this card starts to come up where we start to feel paranoid, we start to feel anxious when we don't listen to ourselves. Because once we shut down that voice that's telling us what we really need, we shut down all the information that helps us navigate the world. And when that happens, that's when we start to get into these anxious, stressed, paranoid mindsets. And that is what the Seven of Swords represents here. So once again, you're directed over and over again to listen to your Fool and Moon voices. You have these in abundance. So it's a really great time to go back to basics with these two, right? Now, if you do trust yourself, you step into your Emperor way, right? You have one of the things that you guys have on lockdown is a decisiveness, is an ability to act on things with clarity, right? And normally you just go ahead. You can follow that impulse and do it. So you don't need to lose sight of that. However, this is a great month to lean into like the soft curiosity and to just listen into like maybe you do make decisions, maybe you are decisive, but which decisions are really working for you and which ones aren't. There's always a time for reassessment. And here you are stepping back fully into your power. And in doing that, guess what? It makes you very magnetic for love, for connection, for conversation, for people that come into your world and are around you that are supportive of you, supportive of your journey, supportive of your path, and want to be connected to you specifically, and you as your true self, right? Not as somebody who's juggling everything for everybody else, not as somebody who's paranoid and afraid of themselves and their big voice and their big presence, not as somebody who feels that they have to carry the weight of the world in order to be loved. You know, Aries, when you guys just love on yourselves, you slow down enough to do that and to take that magnified firepower energy and just love on yourselves, are the most magnetic people in the world. And you're the easiest to love. You really are easy to love in this way. There's major connection going on here. But only, here's the caveat, only if you're willing to gently be yourself, listen to your soul, and make adjustments accordingly. Okay, so this is what I want to do for the solstice, for the fact that this month is a time of rebalancing, recalibrating. It is magic. There are 2 points in the year where we really get this very deep connection with the sun. I know that we have the equinoxes as well, but there's something with the solstices that really rings true with balance. I have a little toast for you. I've got my sparkling water. I love to give my toast. I gave a toast at the beginning of the year, and I'm giving a toast for the mid-year. And this is what I have for my lovely Aries. May this month bring ease and joy and peace. May it bring you new levels of gentle confidence and clarity. May the truth you need meet you and give you the healing and the connections that your heart desires. May you feel you can be your full self, walking through the world with grace. I love you guys. So, with that being said, if you're still curious about what this summer has in store as far as the major astrological events, I have created the Magical Mid-Year Guide. I know a lot of you have already jumped on over and enjoyed that, but if you haven't, we still have that on up, so I would go check that out. It's a really fun journey that we take together, and I had a really fun time creating it, so the Vimeo link is below. As you probably noticed, I'm wearing this Tiger Lily crown by PinkLune. She's going to be making crowns all summer, and I'm really excited. I've had a sneak peek at what's coming next. This crown, As of the time I'm filming, it still exists, but there's only one. There's going to be like single crowns that exist, right? So go check out PinkLune. I'm going to give you all her info in the description box. Go check her out. She's amazing. You can also find me on Instagram at SarahVerba, and you can find me on my website, SARAHTAROT.com. If you're interested in working with me or doing a session with me, or you're interested in having me talk at an event that you have, you can email me, you can contact me in all these different ways. I will leave all of my contact info in the description box. Go check out the Moon Magics if you get a chance. I love you guys so much. Thank you for being here. And if you haven't had a chance to subscribe to my channel or like the video, it really helps me out. I don't like to tell people what to do. It's not my favorite thing, but I'd love to see you around here. So I hope you join me. I'm sending you all of my love, Aries, for this beautiful June ahead.